Hey, we're live. Or we're not actually
Hey,
live, but we're recording. And I'll just double check
live
that.
to tape.
Live since what?
Live to tape.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I am good. I stayed up really late. I mean, I'm 40, so really late is like I stayed up until 3. Like I stayed
Yeah,
up
yeah.
I I I it was my friend's birthday and I went over to his house in Austin and we like just like fed into each other's enthusiasm about mostly about comic books.
Yeah.
Like we just like created like an energy vortex of um like X-Men and dog biscuits, like that comic that Alex Graham put out during like the first year of the pandemic. Like it was just like no dude, like what about Magneto? Well, what about like like just it was a blast. But we literally just sat and like were nerds at each other for like 6 hours.
Was it just you two?
It was mostly as to it was my friend Jose and his housemate, who's my friend, our friend Pablo, was there for a minute, but then his girlfriend came over and they kind of left us to our devices, and we just like played Tetris and like watched like weird like YouTube
What
people.
console did you play Tetris on?
I think it I think it was an Xbox.
Mhm.
It was like some kind of like power Tetris where it was like psychedelic backgrounds.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, it was a blast. But then like that's like a crazy night out for me now. Like I then the
Yeah, how
I
far of
watched
a did you drive out there or did you get a an Uber?
I hitched a ride with my dad like when he went into town to go to work.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Then he picked you up when he
and
got out of work.
And then I went and met him. Well, there's like a 24-hour coffee shop
Oh,
cafe that's
really?
like near,
Well, that's
that
cool.
isn't open anymore.
Oh, it's not open.
It was like one of those things in Austin that you just take for granted that this is
Yeah.
going to always be there. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll go to Kirby Lane and I'll pay like $32 for an omelet and sit and drink coffee until my dad gets out of work.
Wait, is it like
Uh,
some? It's like Beth's Cafe where it's like a 12 egg omelet or something.
it's just like it's like if Denny's had only 10 locations but was still kind of an awful place but was fun about it. And also is like it's Texas, so they always offer you like queso.
Right. Ah, some queso
Yeah.
with your letto or whatever you call an omelet.
Yeah. Yeah, with your so that was my day is that then like I woke up like after watching a little bit of Zack Snyder's Justice League, like continuing the nerd, like I just wanted to like surf the nerd tsunami, and like I watched Justice League, and fell asleep. But then I woke up and walked my dog, and we took her to it's called the Ranch Park. It's a bird watching park that's not near, it's next to a giant horse barn.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the horse barn where my dad votes. And then also it's like the local vaccination site.
It's a
And
horse barn, and your dad votes something, near there, and it's a
that's the
vaccine.
polling place, is you go into the horse barn
Uh huh.
to vote,
Okay.
which it feels really Texasy to me.
Yeah.
The
And what else is it besides all those?
And it's also the vaccination site for the county that we live in.
Was it one? Was it a fourth thing too? Or why did you go there today? What was the thing that you went there?
There's dog walking trails,
Oh, okay. Is it
but
like the
it's
is it the hub for where the trails like lead out of or back to
yeah, it's like you can park
parking lot?
at the parking lot, but it's a different parking lot from where you get vaccinated. But I think it's the same parking lot where you if you go to vote there.
Mm.
Um, but it's also a bird watching, like in Texas you wouldn't say like it's a sanctuary because that sounds too soft, but it's like
It's like a haven or something.
yeah, it's a bird. They have like multiple bird watching like little buildings set up, and you can go into this like it's like a gazebo that you like go sit in, and there's like they have a notebook for different types of birds that you can see there.
Oh, okay. Like but it's like laminated,
No, it's just like like a weird like
like
spiral bound
a
book.
reference guide, kind of.
No, you have to bring your own knowledge about the birds. It's just
So it's like a what's the check-in like when you stay at like a bed and breakfast and they're like sign this.
yeah, like write in our guest book and
Hmm.
tell us where you came from. But
So
it's
it's a
like, did you
bird
see
guest
the
book, kind of.
yeah. I mean, there's a huge blue heron that I've seen the last two times that we go there. There's like a big old pond, and you just see like this incredible. I don't know. I don't know enough about birds to write anything of value in the guest book. I guess every time we go there, I should just write like great birds, like
Yeah, it might have been red on one or something.
yeah, like
Like how
is it
honest?
blue or is it black? I'm kind of colorblind, so I don't know. Are these grackles? Should I look this up? Should I Google lens these birds?
What drink did you grab from the fridge?
It's a Topo Chico.
Oh, dude. I feel like that must be in Seattle somewhere, but I feel like PCC must have it or something, but I think you were drinking that like a few weeks ago and I was like, "Man, where is that? What do I got to order it off the website or something, you know?"
Well, a couple of years ago, they were bought by Coca-Cola,
Oh
so now
no.
yeah,
They're corrupt.
they are like all things that reach a certain threshold of success, like they have to be corrupted by like like things. I don't know. I don't want to get too. I don't want to get. I don't want to get. No, I want to get off on a rant here. I don't want to.
Huh.
What
So,
did you do today?
um let's see. I also went to bed late. I had one of those nights. Sometimes I'm just kind of like, I don't really have a couch right now. I'm getting a couch in like 2 weeks, like a hand me down. I could just keep going on that tangent, but I I like turned off the light and then I was like, oh, I can't fall asleep, so I'm gonna watch 2.5 hours of YouTube. And I watched like this is what I did last night, but what I did today, I got up and my dad was coming over, and I guess for my sister's birthday, we're gonna make some raised beds in the front yard. So I ended up after getting my coffee and something to eat, I started like transplanting little pieces of sod, like grass, in from my front yard into my backyard. And then I just started so I was digging up my yard, and then my dad came over and got a sawzall and or out of his trunk and started cutting off these long like like those heavy nails. I don't know what they're called, but like a spike, like a small spike. He was cutting them off of these big big blocks of wood, like I don't know, 4x6s or something. I don't know, that we might end up reusing when we build the flower beds or garden beds. But so I dug, and then I went to an art store, the one near the Blue Moon, actually. That the art and crafts store. You know the one.
Yeah.
And I bought some acrylic paints and some canvas board, like that thin board, because I was using like watercolor paper. I've been doing art on Sundays, and I was like, oh, I got really into acrylics last week, and I was like, I should buy some tubes, and so I got some excellent customer service and bought, invested in some future creativity. And then I had Thai food for dinner because my brother-in-law, who I live with, it was his birthday, or it is tomorrow. No, it's on Saturday, so they were celebrating early. And then I came here and set this up, tried to do like a little continuity of like having, because I could have Zoom called you from my house and had basically similar quality, but the background, it's I don't know. I just was like, I'll put in some reps. That's about it. But anyways, last night I was watching YouTube, and I went down that I watched like a video compilation of back when Ozzy Osbourne and his family had that show, the Osbournes.
Oh yeah.
They had like a little compilation of him being obsessed with buying burritos, and that's yeah. I watched that.
I watched your YouTube channel for I think like 45 minutes of my friend's birthday last night. I was like, no, check this out. Because he showed me Temporary Color, that documentary that David Byrne hired a guy to make, like, that it's like hilarious and like very like, I don't know, it that put me on a thing of like, oh well, let me show you here, I'll show you some YouTube weirdness. But it was like almost all people who I actually know and have like hung out with, and then it got into that weird area of like some of the videos I was in the video, and I was like, oh well, this isn't why I'm showing you this, but watch this part because I'm in this. Don't, like the Mom Spaghetti tour and the Too Many Comedians tour. But then also we were really appreciating how you have like the small, medium, and large.
Oh, lengths. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was fun. Yeah.
And I saw like a thing from our screenplay project like come up that I hadn't watched in my own personal time, and it was weird to have this like performative, like be in somebody's house with their roommate and be like, hey, check this out. Oh, what's this? Oh, that's like our project.
Yeah, the newer one, it was kind of more boring, and I was kind of, I mean, I have like two. There's a 6-minute one and a 10-minute. And the newest one is kind of like whatever, but I was just trying to like push, create something. And I was like, this will change. I don't know. Because we've had kind of a haphazard meeting situation, But it's all, actually, I feel like a lot, I guess for the audience, if anybody's watching this, anyway, Brodie and I are masterminding a thing, a media creation.
We're finding the parameters of it right now, or like this morning when
the guidelines,
before I walked the dog, I think I got up and I'm like mostly sober, so like I really look forward to like the sunrise and like that first cup of coffee and
Mm-hmm.
cigarette. That's like what
Mm-hmm.
you're left with when you don't drink, but it's also like a really actually cool thing. And I woke up and I like went back over poetry that I had written on Twitter about Texas, and I was trying to take like kind of like skim the cream off of the top of that, but then also like observe the Texas around me, because I think that we are going to I feel like if whatever our media creation is, I think it's going to take place in Texas. Um,
Yeah, yeah. We'll
and
get
so
hit.
it was
Yeah.
like observing, but then like also like imagining or like remembering like the things about Texas that I like, and then kind of like forcing them conceptually to go up against like the things about Austin, and like all it's like the contiguous like the archipelago of hipster cities, and like guys like us, guys that look somewhat like us, like furiously explaining something to you. I was trying to imagine like a character that was kind of like me, but that was somebody's manager at a pizza place and was making them listen to his like rehashed like conspiracy theories from the early 2000s, like one of those like oh you I saw the direction this was all going in years ago, like you guys don't even know, like this is. And then like the recent thing that I did do where um, my performance art, I like I went to the World Trade Center like dressed as an ISIS member,
Mm-hmm.
as you do, like just for a laugh and a half. But it was like something. There's like certain things that I do when I'm out in public sometimes where it's like it's part of it is just the internal context of it. Like my it's like the dream for me is to go into there's this mall in the World Trade Center site that's called the Oculus,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like nobody's shopping there, but there's like 35 like government like super cops with like machine guns are there at all times, and they're just gabbing with each other and like hanging out. And so it's like mall walkers and um, people who are like, this is the most American thing I've ever seen, like tourists like taking pictures and like trying to capture like how um, like mega American it is to have like a mall that like digs into the ground,
Mm-hmm.
that has all of the fanciest, like super fancy versions of the fanciest stores that you've ever seen in a mall. And then like nobody's there either because of the pandemic or because malls are such a weird anachronism.
Yeah.
And so like every time I went there, it was like in a different, um, I had a different like strange like what is my approach to this, as like most of the time I was not going to buy anything. I was just there it's like you go there to have been there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I one time when I was there, like a snowstorm started, like it was the beginning of a blizzard, and I was trying to call my cousin who's like a big 9/11 conspiracy like kook,
Okay.
um or like I wanted to call him like from Building 7, like from the like site of like one of his favorite conspiracies to tell me about. And it was like I was so crestfallen because he didn't answer the phone, or it was like 3 hours earlier on the West Coast. But I was like, come on, man, like this is the time you have to answer. Like I'm at Building 7. Like I want to hear, like I want to open up the floodgates of like tell me again about the whatever it is that was coming out of there, if it was CIA lasers or if that's like where the alien Like, I don't know. Um,
I was
but
trying to think
yeah,
of what the acronym for MALL could be. It'd be like Middle America Lazy Luxury. But I mean,
that's
middle.
good.
It wouldn't be Middle America. It'd be something America maybe.
It's like
Anyways,
mega America. I mean,
yeah.
and then like, I guess just to try to put some kind of a bow on that, like it feels so weird to me that there is like right across the street from that they have like the museum about it's like actually about the September 11th attacks and like a memorial to, but it's like they're the same, like it's that like the two halves of the American like empire, like our death rattle as like an enormous beast that's like thrashing all over the world. um like there's like it's locked together, right? Like the self mythologizing as a nation, and then also like I don't know how much self awareness there is in like having a mall there, but it's so wild to me. I mean, that was like what that's like what I love about um, America is that it is this like it, we're like a I don't know, like it just keeps it's like a Mobius like flag, like we just keep like I don't know being more American and like um anyway.
How many times have you been to the mall and the museum and Tower Seven, the new Tower Seven or whatever?
I've been to the mall. This is like the funny part is that I've been to the mall like 5 times at least. Like the girl that I was seeing in mostly in December, but also in November and December, she wanted to take me there, but her perspective on it was so different because she had lived in New York for like off and on, but like for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so her relationship to like 9/11 and her relationship to she just wanted to go there to shop.
Okay. Yeah.
And so like I went and it is like at the same time as it's like a crazy spectacle and like it's like America taking a selfie of itself like in a mirror like while it's another selfie is happening, but also like it is really like architecturally incredible place to be because you go into this street level thing and then it's like at least 5 stories deep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't realize the mall was underground.
yeah, it's wild. And
Anyway,
then
so
how
you
many times
you
I
you went there, and then you were a little more nostalgic, and she was shopping, but you were like, "Oh, is that right?"
well she brought me there one time and I took like a really good picture of her, and that was kind of like the golden day of us just like wander like that new love, like the
Mm-hmm.
new relationship energy, like all of those chemicals firing. And she like took me there and was like, well, we have to come back here sometime to shop.
Yeah.
And like and I was just kind of like, okay sweetie, but like not saying anything about like this is like terrifying. And like it's like yeah, she had no for her there wasn't like a and there I don't think there was any like melancholy or conflict about going to a mall that was at the site of the former World Trade Center. Like that was just like, oh, this is one of the best malls, and we have to come here next time after we both get paid
Hmm.
and and buy a bunch of really good stuff, and get like nice designer clothes and like really, you know. And there is like a certain
That's America for you. That's like you're
Yeah,
spending your grocery store money or whatever, on I don't know, sweatbands or
like like if I found like a really nice like bow tie
yeah,
that looked
yeah, yeah.
like exactly the same as like a really cheap bow tie that I bought at Nordstrom, or like not even Nordstrom, but like a Marshall's bow tie. But then this one would have like special significance because it like came from like geographically, and then all, like yeah, it's my Amazon money. Like I worked for Amazon, and so like it's like my like willingly like run like there's a building that's on fire, and it's like the Amazon like uh like how badly Amazon treats its workers, and I'm just like strolling into it like, well, you got to make money somehow, like okay, let's do it. And then taking that money and like yeah, like instead of like it's grocery store money in two ways. Like it's money that I made working at a grocery store, and then it's like money that you should probably be spending at the grocery store instead of like at the extra fancy version of Burberry.
Mm-hmm. This Burberry's like a clothing spot, right?
Yeah, Burberry is that there's like a there it's a label. It's like an English brand, and it
Right.
has a very
They have scarves and stuff.
yeah, and there's a specific tartan, like it's that beige.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Is tartan like a
uh,
plaid? Like a
yeah, it's like a plaid that
it's
has like a specific
it's
coating
beige,
of like
beige,
a color.
black, and red, right? Or something.
Yeah, yeah, and it was something when I worked at the dry cleaner in Portland, you would see Burberry stuff go through, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like the shock waves of people being into like designer brands or like couture or like whatever you want to call like but I think Burberry is like the original Supreme, or they're like um the like because they'll just it's just a scarf, it's just a wool scarf, but then it costs like $400 because it has the Burberry plaid.
Yeah, the patented design.
Yeah,
Uh, is it? You said it's European, or,
I'm pretty sure they're a British
right? Right.
brand, and they there's I used to have it's like one of those things too where it's like it's the ironic mustache of America, right? Like you you like grow a mustache as a joke, and then like a month later you're like mustache guy. And like I don't know, for me, like I started collecting Burberry's clothes at the
Wow.
dry cleaner,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and then like
Did people
it
leave?
was
How
something
did
where
people leave them or something?
yeah, well, anything that
I forgot that you worked at a dry cleaner, but I remember how it was all connected because you would find these great suits, and then you'd wear them for comedy, which is like a huge bonus.
yeah, and people would I mean it was a funny thing because it's kind of one of those things where you didn't want to correct the legend too much, but people would always be like, oh, you stole, I can't believe you're wearing all this stuff that you stole from the dry cleaner. And like technically I didn't steal any of this stuff, I just like played the long game and waited for the people to leave it there and not come and claim it. But if
Right?
you
How long?
in
How long was the period, or was it kind of
it's a
whatever?
6 month,
Ah,
like officially after 6 months, if you don't come and pick your stuff up, it's owned by the cleaners. But then of course like it depends on if you're a rich person whose business we want you to come back, we would then save your stuff for an extra 3 months, or we would call you would
wow. Yeah,
it
yeah,
would
yeah. You call the
um
person and you have their like assistant.
yeah
Come. You're like, hey, can you get your assistant to come back? Because
yeah because and then there's a difference too of if you prepaid for it, like if you had already paid for it to be cleaned and it was literally just taking up space, then that would go off to another facility or where it would go to a different building. But then if you hadn't paid, that's where I got I can show you if you want, but I have that I call it like my Joker blazer. It's like this like weird sport coat that's like burgundy, and that was like that's what would happen is I would be looking for people's stuff or going through and like marking stuff out to see how long something had been there, and then you would see something that you kind of would fall in love with, and you would like I would go like, okay, so this is like 2 months until my boss technically owns this. And then I mean, in a way I did like a whole show around this blazer. I'll go grab it.
Yeah.
This is the blazer, and I'm not as colorblind now, but this was one of the things where I found out that I was colorblind is because I would call this purple.
Yeah.
I would be corrected that this is actually burgundy.
So it's like a dark red, or more of a reddish purple brown or something.
Yeah, and I guess it's like a technicality thing, or it's like that idea of like if you don't have a word for the color, then you don't know what like your brain doesn't perceive it the same way, right? But it's like such a it's just such a crazy like to me it just screamed, and this was like pre Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie,
right?
But this just like this said to me like this a whole story in itself of like who would I be if I was wearing this blazer, or like what part of myself would come out of wearing this and doing like a lounge act. So that was like when I did the lounge act show and would like shave down to just like a pencil thin mustache and kind of do like a caricature of myself.
This is pre Rich Tapestry.
That was Rich Tapestry. That was the birth of that blazer like made Rich Tapestry come to life. That was so that's the blazer. But I like had my eye on that blazer for like months and months and months, and then even because I wanted it so much, like I felt like it was like that guilty conscience thing, like the telltale heart, like I was like, oh, everybody knows that I want this blazer, right? And then I finally got it and did a show around it, and I'm so oblivious that I didn't realize that there was a matching pair of pants that was like right behind it.
Wow. So
I never got the pants. The guy actually came in like with his girlfriend and came in and got the pants. And I had to have that guilty conscience of like, there's
half your suit. Yeah.
Here's half of your suit, and don't look at the posters for my lounge act.
That you've posted inside of the lobby. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it was like, oh, that's don't come to this show.
Didn't he? Didn't your boss technically own that, or did he end up just coming in and paying for the pants being cleaned or something, and then
like because if you came by and you still got like you could still pay off like the $15 or whatever that you had owed and get it back. But yeah, technically but yeah, it's that weird line. But yeah, the boss, the owner of the dry cleaner, technically owned those clothes, but he doesn't want like a weird like velour blazer. That wasn't his, especially not like the.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like you had the blazer, and then the guy comes in for the pants and blazer, and then you realize that those pants match your blazer, and you're like, actually, can I have
Yeah.
those pants?
Well, I was in like a different kind of autopilot, and so like as I was handing it back to him, that was when I looked at it and saw that that was a pair of pants with like
Right,
the
you were caught in the web though, so it's like you can't tell him, but you also
yeah.
can't ask. You're like, actually, we didn't clean these. And then he comes back again, and you're like, here's your money back. You're
Well,
like, yeah,
everybody's idea of that, because that's such a weird, like the moving legal window. Um, they were just like, so long story short, you steal people's clothes. And so like to kind of have that like outlaw image, I would just let people think like, yeah, no,
I mean,
this is
like, long story short, you steal lazy people's clothes,
right.
or
Or like,
something.
oh no, they're coming back for this on Tuesday. Like I gotta sneak this in and have it cleaned again. Like that sort of like
Oh,
heightened.
okay.
Yeah, no, this is Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Moneybags is gonna come in and find out that I'm wearing his Burberry coat. But sometimes it really would be. I would have a shirt on. And a guy came in. He hadn't been in the dry cleaner for like 2 years, and I had worked there off and on for like 3 to 4 years. And he came in and he complimented me on a Western shirt that had been his, and he was like, "Oh man, I like your style." And I was like, I, "It's our style. It's not."
Yeah, that's funny. Wow. It's like it's the story of the traveling dress shirt or something.
Yeah, it's the brotherhood of the snap front. The I mean, it was amazing at that time to like have so many clothes to be able to pick through, that I then somebody would be so impressed by the fact that I had, like, if I would cuff my dress shirt, and you would see the Burberry plaid on my cuffs, and all of a sudden that confers all of this like wealth and style and good taste on you. And all it was I knew that this other guy who worked there wanted to steal that shirt, so I knew like by association that that was like a really cool shirt to have.
Mm-hmm.
Till like after I had given all of those away, or lost him in a move, or left him with friends, and then I'm like, oh, like, a different perspective that you could have on it is that I could have sold all of that stuff, or that
Yeah,
could have been there, but it was just never or was never like,
that wasn't your
I didn't want.
goal. Yeah, that wasn't your end game. I like the idea of. Well, I mean, I'm like looking at my sneakers I'm wearing, and I'm like, oh, I could be wearing like $200 shoes or $300 shoes, but I like the idea of just clothing evoking a different part of you. You know, depending if you're wearing a button-up shirt with a collar, or a white T-shirt.
Yeah, like there is so much that you're like signaling that we don't always think about, where it's like, oh well, this is just like when I go to walk my dog here, I think I've brought this up a couple different times, but like I'll put on
Oh
like an
yeah, you're
American flag hat
yeah.
and like try to like assimilate, but then also I think that there's a certain like smirking, like insincerity to it that just comes off no matter what, where I'm like wearing like an American flag hat and like waving, but I'm like in quotes. I'm like, "Oh, hi neighbor, like we're all Texans, aren't we?" Like
Is there a Texas flag or like a county flag for Texas or
well,
something?
here's
How about "Don't Tread on Me"? Like get like a flag for that, but wear it as a cape or something. I don't
this is don't mess with Texas.
know.
The, my mask that I got at CVS for $10 in Austin, and it's great because like the mask thing here is has been politicized, and like people don't wear masks. Like that was the crazy thing to me yesterday in Austin was like seeing patios like overflowing with people and only the servers have masks on
hmm
and everybody else is just swimming in droplets and like and then you all agree that it's just like oh I went to a coffee shop that I used to work at it's like right down the road from my friend's house and like nobody on the patio has masks on because you don't have to
Right.
and so it was like a time warp for me a and like going to a place that I used to work
hmm
and then b like the culture shock of like most of my pandemic I lived or a big chunk of it I lived in Brooklyn
Yeah.
and people would it would be weird if you weren't wearing a mask like in your own house or in your apartment it was like even just yeah it was like so far the other direction and then I feel like I'm it's like one of my like probably just for me but to wear like a Texan there is a Texan flag like to have like a Texas mask on and have this
Right.
be like how I'm being different but also like forcing um when people would look at you, well, what are you wearing a mask for? And then it's a Texas mask, and then they have to be like, oh, darling,
Right. It's a silver lining.
yeah. Uh,
Have you talked to Mo much or seen her?
no, I mean she is about as maybe a little bit further. Like I'm in Dripping Springs, which is like halfway in between Austin and San Antonio,
Uh huh.
and she's in San Antonio now, and
So it's a pretty far drive. It's like hour and a half or two or.
I think it's like 45 minutes to an hour away. Like it's a little bit further away than Austin, but it's still close. But no, I
Yeah.
haven't. I mean, there's been some internet messaging and stuff, and I told her that my dog got like crazy scary big while I was in New
Uh
York,
huh. Uh huh.
and she was just like, "Hey, I want pictures."
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it was that weird thing of like I think when we weren't in the same state
Mm-hmm.
it was like easier to be flirty like the low stakes like
Right. Because
uh,
I've been in two video chats with you and her. And yeah, I understand. Like it's easier. Well, it's also just easier to be like, okay, let's hang out on video chat. But
yeah
now that you're like within an hour, it's like, we're both in the same like cerebral like telekinetic space or
yeah
something.
I definitely want to like reach out and I mean it's been really cool to like reconnect with friends but also like I'm I so overload my social media sometimes that I forget that some people aren't even a little bit aware of it. Like my friend Zach didn't know that I was back in Texas until last night.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Was that the birthday
he
guy or a different guy at the birthday or something?
That was a mutual friend who had been invited, but he
Uh,
was hanging out with his girlfriend or his lady or whoever. And so he was like, "Hey, what? You're back in town?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he does video projects and movie stuff. Like almost everybody there was all people who I know from the Alamo the movie theater, and he does his thing is Stanley Two Bricks.
mm-hmm. Is that his
And
like
he had made
Instagram name or something?
that's like his YouTube channel is Stanley
Okay.
Tubricks. And so he has that like the first frame of Clockwork Orange with like the blue field, and it says a Stanley Kubrick production, but it says a Stanley Tubricks production, and he just does these like hilarious, like really well done like little shorts.
Mm.
And I told him that you and I are like we're peeling the potatoes for some kind of a filmic stew.
Yeah.
Oh man, if I
I imagine if we keep on if we keep on track somehow, maybe after this school quarter, I can come out and visit you or something. But
yeah,
that's just or we could drive to Tech. That'd be a crazy drive, but that could be fun.
there's a yeah. I don't know. I would almost I would have to say go through California, right? Like of all the ways that you could go
Right? Yeah.
from Texas, that's the most fun stuff. But you still have to like burn your way through New Mexico and Arizona, like where there's not. You have to choose like is it going to be like a cultural wasteland or like an actual like there's nothing out here.
I got my buddy Jack and we roller skate, and I was telling Jack how cool it would be to be like go on a tour as a comedian, but all the shows we wear roller skates on stage. He wants to be the first comedian with a stand-up special where he's on roller skates the whole time.
That's good.
I actually thought I was trying to mastermind and maybe the concept sounds better, but you go to a roller rink and the comedian goes and does laps while they do their set, and either the audience is in the center of the rink or they're just watching or something.
It's a different kind of theater in the round. Is that Jack Ballard?
No, this is a newer transplant to Seattle, Jack Slattery. He lived over in Portland, Maine, and as well as Rhode Island, and then before that he said Alabama. But yeah,
I was kind of enjoying like the mental picture of Jack Ballard like on roller skates, like very like insisting on always wearing roller skates. But I like, I mean that's the fun part about living in like hipster meccas, right? Is that like new people come in and are like super excited to like, and it kind of like makes you appreciate like what's good about these awful cities.
yeah. Wait, awful as in the one you're in or the one the one I'm in?
Both. I mean, like, just I think that it's like it's that duality thing for me again of like they are like Austin is becoming like the Silicon Valley, and then also it's the comedy mecca.
Yeah,
because you can perform here, and then I mean I could we need a whole separate we need like a nurse on hand if I start talking about Seattle, like just or somebody with
you
like
need to like lay down and get in a bed that you can press a button to adjust where you're and then you need like
I need somebody with like I need to take exactly.
You need like
that was a
what?
It was a show concept that I always wanted to do, and it still comes back to me sometimes. I want to do a show where it is like the context of a psych ward, and it's like I escape onto the stage, and the audience is seeing me like on the run. Like that would be in between. That would be the transitions. Is that nurses or like hospital staff?
You could be the host. Yeah, you could. That would work for you to be in the host because you do the whole like run off, and then a nurse comes on and chases you. And
Yeah, and somebody is like trying, or either that, or it's just like that would be the only way to get me to stop talking, is that like somebody comes on and injects me with something, and then I'm like taken out in this on a gurney, and then the next comic would come on.
Also, somebody being in like the sound booth, like on the God mic, but pretending like it's like the loudspeaker in the hospital or something. You're like, we got somebody
I
on the
mean,
loose.
I don't know how realistic I would want it to be, just for the to make it still fun for some audience members, but the thing they say in hospitals sometimes is code strong, is we need a bunch of strong guys to come in here and
Oh, yeah.
pin this person down. Like this is like a all hands on deck. um
The one of the last times you go on stage, you could be wearing a straight jacket or something.
right, I mean, just to really, and yeah, I mean, um it's crazy to me, no pun intended, like it's crazy that like electroshock therapy is having like a second or third resurgence in like people using it, when yeah, that was the centerpiece of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, was like how horrible it would be to have someone like putting electrodes on the side of your head to
Also,
like change your,
Requiem for a Dream, right? The mom.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like all of those like movies that are like, part of why they're so intense is they're supposed to like traumatize you into changing your opinion about the world, right? And like,
Mhm.
and now that's like an option that people are doing voluntarily,
Yeah, you can get it at
because
Starbucks, I think.
it's, I want I want pumpkin spice swabs like on the side of my. I want to have the peppermint, like the Christmas electroconvulsive therapy.
Yeah, could I get the white chocolate, uh, 30 hertz? I don't know.
Yeah, I want it upside down style. So like flip the diode. Like I want it to be negative positive instead of the.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Now that we're this deep into it, and presumably I don't have to. I mean, it's funny, like to when I go on podcasts sometimes and I want to talk about family stuff, and like there's the instinct to be like, oh, I hope my family isn't watching this. And then I feel like the reality of it is like they get so much of me talking and so much of being around me that there's no way, I cannot imagine anybody in my family, especially my dad, like watching this far into me talking to, hanging out with my friend, when it's the thing that he has to try to minimize. Like it's a reason that he goes out and smokes a cigarette sometimes, is the fact that I'm talking. But
Right.
last night when I went to meet him at his work, um it was crazy, Robbie. Like I haven't talked to anybody about this, but like it's like it got like it, I don't know, it's one of those like brushes with reality, where like he was like across the parking lot talking to his friend, and his friend um got was had a case of beers,
Yeah.
and got one out to give to my dad, and then my dad indicated me at the other side of the parking lot, and he didn't know that I could hear him,
Yeah, yeah,
and he said, "No, don't give one to my son. He's a really bad alcoholic."
yeah.
And then they got to where like he knew that I could hear him, and he's like, hey bro, I want you to meet, this is this friend of mine, da 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 da. And I was like, I mean, I, I'm he as there's no fact checking what he said is correct,
Right.
but like for it to be such a like it was just a unvarnished, like a truth slug, like a
Right.
like
And you can't, like, realistically, you can't double down and be like, test his friend and be like, "Hey, can I get a beer?" You know,
Right, right.
because
How weird. I mean, also, yeah, it's like it's not in a performance space or like any kind of. So yeah, just to be like, yo, let me crack one of those open because like that was kind of the whole.
you're like, "Oh, I'm joking." Yeah.
Yeah, the subtext of that of me getting a ride into Austin was that there was like a visit 2 weeks ago where I like got really fucked up at my friend's house and um, like I drank like 3.5 beers on an empty stomach
Hmm.
and
Wow. Yeah.
smoked
Yeah. Oh, what? You got
way.
sick?
I smoked like a whole bunch of weed and after like not smoking any
And you had
for
the 3 beers, and you had no food.
and then the food that I had was Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza,
Ooh.
which I'm lactose intolerant.
Right, and you can't not eat the crust though when you're that messed up.
Yeah. And so at one point I started just shoveling pizza into my face, like seeing I could feel like the spin, like it was already there was a bad chemistry happening. And so I started like power loading pizza into my face to try to like
Counteract
send
it.
in
Yeah.
a response team to like deal with the beer that was in my stomach. But like I hadn't had that much cheese, that much THC, or that much beer. And we were watching, it was a big AEW like wrestling
Oh
spectacular.
my god, that's like that seems all very bad.
Yeah. I mean, and also like I hadn't hung out with friends. I mean, really for like roommates that you make friends with, it's kind of a different scenario. But like to go over to a friend's house, that hadn't happened. Uh, I mean, in a year,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like they should have stopped you at like 1 beer, you know.
Oh no, and I didn't like prep anybody with like hey, by the way, like protect me from myself,
Yeah,
like
that's not in the cards. Like why would
no,
you know, then you're just asking them to babysit you, but
right. And so like I was also like holding court. Like we were all cracking really funny jokes and totally enjoying the wrestling match. And like it was a pay-per-view special that my friend like ordered specifically for people to come over and watch. And we were like just having a total blast. And then my one friend, VJ, is sober. And part of like that my excuse at least for like drinking so many beers was that I wanted to drink all of the beers before he came over, and so that I was so that I wasn't drinking in front of him,
oh,
and all like A, to not like be telling on myself that I was drinking, and then B, to not be like drinking in front of him. And he doesn't fucking care. He has his own whole. I mean, that was totally just something that I invented.
right.
That
And
he
then
was.
it accelerated, you know. Then he's just watching you. He probably would
Uh,
care even more that you're drunk, like not that you're drinking. Ah, whatever.
yeah. And so but then his thing was he was sitting next to me, where we were all hanging out in the living room, and he got really worried because I didn't talk for a couple minutes.
He was like, he had a pulse on you. Was this after the
Yeah,
pizza or before the pizza?
yeah. This was like right before. So then what happened was I was like, oh, it's throw up time. I think
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw up. Like I can't, better out than in. There's nothing to it but to do it. And I was
yeah,
like, I think I can make it like 15 feet down the hallway to go barf.
yeah.
And I stood up, and then apparently I fainted,
Oh my god.
or like I passed out on my feet, or like had a stroke, or some kind of thing happened where I just did like a tree, like I just fell
Oh no.
backwards
Oh no, backwards. Yeah.
and hit my head on the hardwood
Oh, that's what
floor.
you had hit last like 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah, and so I got like a concussion. And like there were like people who I had never hung out with before had never met, like gathered around me, like shining flashlights in my eyes, like
Yeah.
talking to me, like trying to get me to talk.
Yeah.
And I was unable to like really talk. And like, I was just kind of like, oh, I mean, and also like, there's that ego thing of like, I just clearly bit off literally and figuratively more than I could chew. And I was like, hey, oh, that's life, man. It's all whatever. And they're like, Brodie, are you okay? Like you hit your head on the
Oh,
floor so loud that we all heard it. Like, are you all right, man? Like, do we need to call an ambulance? And I was just like, I don't know how, if I even was like able to respond,
wow.
but like like I got sick in the bathroom, and then I did the like, oh, that's a party foul thing, like you don't want to monopolize the bathroom for too long, and so you
Right.
have to go out. And so I was like out on the back porch, and like in the backyard, just like pizza and beer were just like, it was horrid. But then also there was like a weird stage of like at first, like I went out onto the porch, and like everybody was hanging out there, and they didn't know what to say because they had just met me that night.
Right.
So it was
There's like
like,
nothing to
hey
say.
man,
Yeah.
hey, we're all hanging out, come and talk so that we know you're still alive. Like, what was your name again? Okay, like, why don't you, can you not stand up? Oh, that's interesting and cool. Um, and so like
Wait,
they
so
had
they
me sit on,
they were already outside, or they came and joined you?
yeah, like everybody cleared out after also like, I guess kind of like funny, finger quotes, but like the wrestling match was billed. I like the wrestling match. It was like seven different matches. The the sporting event, the entertainment sporting event, there was a whole thing where it was supposed to be this super extreme fight at the end, where the three of the sides of the ring were barbed wire
Oh.
instead of normal ropes,
Yeah.
and there were bombs set up all over, like there was like booby traps, like where bombs would go off, and then there was a timer set up so that it could only go on for 30 minutes, and then bombs were going to explode, and presumably, in the world of the wrestling being real, like it was going to kill you if you didn't win the fight and get out of there in time.
Wow.
And it was a dud. Like their pyrotechnics didn't go off,
Oh, wow.
and so the bomb at the very end, it seriously looked like sparklers. And
Yeah.
so that was like, everybody was goofing on that, and how there wasn't like a really big explosion at the end of the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the joke when I was like throwing up a lot, was that they were like, oh, there was a big explosion at the end of the
It was
the end of the
Brodie.
night. Like, we got what we paid, that was it. Was this guy
Wow.
all in red, like got really sick at the end of it. But yeah, it was really funny because it went from that thing of like new friends being like, oh, you seem really cool, like, what was your name again? Oh yeah, no, we should, yeah, no, this is fun, to like when they all kind of like smoked the last cigarette of the night, and we're like, all right, goodbye, red jacket man.
Yeah, we'll probably never see you again.
Yeah, like if I hear that you're over here next time, I'm not coming over. Like, and so after all of that, I didn't come clean to my dad about it being a concussion, or like that I had like been drinking too much and
Yeah.
smoking too much. I didn't tell him about that until like a week in, and he was like he knew that there was something up with me, but he was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And he got really mad at me for drinking like all of the coffee one day, and I was like, oh well, I'm trying to figure out if I have like a caffeine tolerance issue or if I got a concussion, and I think I got a concussion.
Uh-huh.
And so like that was the context of me being like, hey, can I get a ride into town to hang out with my friends? And his first thing was like, fuck no, absolutely not. Like you
Yeah.
can't,
I can't
like,
trust
dude,
you. Yeah, you got to wear like
yeah,
a alcohol anklet or thing or something.
yeah, you have to have a breathalyzer just to like put your shoes on. Like you don't, I mean, um, and then I think he kind of realized like yesterday was also when I got my Biden bucks.
Okay.
And I think dad, like, I think there was like a quick calculation where he realized that there was like no stopping me from going into town. And so it was just kind of a thing of like, look, you need, this is your chance to like not go
Yeah.
totally fucking bonkers and like hit your head on the hardwood floor and
Yeah.
like okay, this is it. Like if you are all fucked up at the end of the night, then you need to like look at, you know, more serious, you know, I
Yeah,
don't know.
reevaluate something.
Yeah, like even the level of messed up that my life is now, or that my like where I'm in like this holding pattern. Yeah, even to like go from red alert to like double red alert or whatever it would be. And
Right.
then also to be in, like for me it meant a lot that Jose like invited me to come hang out again after all of that.
Oh,
And
that's what happened. The guy who Jose who
yeah,
hosted.
yeah, and it was his birthday yesterday, and he had like a birthday party on Monday, and just he wanted me to come and just do a bro down showdown and just hang out and read comics and do what we did last night. And so for me, it was kind of one of those things like early on in the early stages of a friendship where you have to like not flake on people.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's because it's tough because like everybody right now wants to like, I don't know, for me like I want to hang out, and then I also want to like enjoy not having to hang out all the time and like
Yeah.
getting to like, just like walk my dog while I like listen to music and like not be in the city, like try to appreciate what is bad about it
Right,
and good
right.
about it.
To get a little of both worlds where you can go out and hang out with Jose and then
Yeah.
try to have some kind of normalcy or whatever that is, homebody something.
Yeah. And yeah, and even though it wasn't like nobody else came over and there was like the possibility that maybe like a small group of other people who had like been tested were going to come over, and it ended up most of the night just being the two of us with like his roommate occasionally coming through. Like for me, it was like, it was great. It was like a show of how well we got along, because it wasn't just me like fucking hitting rock bottom for the 17th time. It was also like I that the that day of the pay-per-view event, like I went over and hung out, um and it was a Sunday. I went and hung out with him. Like I got there early in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and we just hung out and talked like politics and comic books and life and like protests and like communism and like everything. And it was just like, oh, like we were just like locking in so much on like oh, like this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And then like it was nice to me, but also like a little bit concerning that I was like, oh well, so like something that, I mean, if I always like have to like rotate out and be like, well, if somebody came over to my house and did that, like how upset would I really be?
Right, yeah. Well, he ended up offering a place for you to to do that and then come back, you know. So that's nice of him.
Yeah. Well, and also I think that it wasn't ever explicit between the two of he and I, but there was like, I think there was at least an understanding of like, don't fucking like crash through the roof of the chocolate factory this time, like, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Wow.
I didn't drink. That was kind of important thing, and then also like we got Chick-fil-A, we got like bad food delivered on some app, and I like made a conscious effort to not get cheese on it. I was like, okay, which elements can I take out?
Right.
And like,
Huh. Well, yeah, I don't know. I've never had a concussion, but I hope you're, I feel like it does it takes a long time in any kind of, when you hurt your body to recover. But, I'm just speaking from, I fell on my knee like 3 months ago or 2 months ago, and I don't know when it's going to be back to normal. But actually, okay, and then I wanted to say that the high point of you falling backwards, although concussion's pretty bad, but you could have fallen forwards and like knocked out your teeth.
oh sure,
You know.
or like broken my nose, or like, um, I mean, it could have been, yeah. There's all different ways that was like a pretty bad scenario, but not the like worst case scenario, other than for the like poor concerned guy Jesse, who, I mean, it was a very very Texas scene too, to have like a guy in a cowboy hat like shining a flashlight in my eyes, like. And also I had never been over to the house before, and I didn't recognize the hallway, and so like my disorientation and like just being like crossfaded and being overstimulated, I at first seriously didn't know where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh no, like in my mind I was just at Jose and Pablo's house, and now I'm in this other house. Like, is it years later? Like, am I even Brodie anymore? Like, is this like, was that whole other thing like, did I like get so fucking trashed that I like pressed through like the membrane into another dimension? Like, it like I didn't recognize any of the stuff about that side of the hallway. Like, I hadn't really ever looked at the hallway before, so the first thing that I saw when I opened my eyes was this completely alien, like a scene of a posters that I didn't recognize, and like a door to a room that I had never been in,
on top of faces that you didn't recognize.
yeah, and then people who I didn't really know were like the like doing their EMT training, like, and like seeing how, if my pupils were going to dilate the correct way, and like remembering something, and
Right.
it was just rough. Like, I'm definitely, I mean, we had like had that sharing time of like the garbage people, like stories of like doing psychedelics, and like, knowing that there is like a value in reaching extreme states.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like one of those things of like, you got to be careful, like, the universe doesn't understand the word no, like,
Yeah.
describe it, like leaving that out there, but then not making a conscious effort to like maybe have 0 to 1 beers,
Yeah.
maybe a beer and a half with like good food, not Pizza Hut as the
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. I haven't drank in a couple years, really, but I always had trouble stopping before I finished my first beer. When I could take like 3 or 4 sips and I'm like good, basically.
Oh yeah.
But I guess that's why I just kind of phased it out. But I have had those. I've gone to like a party and been like, oh, I'm gonna have a little bit of that like sangria type stuff, and then or bug juice, and then and then I'm gonna have some beer, and then like I get crossfaded, and I had somebody drive me like 3 blocks away to spend like I bought like 100 beers and like some vodka and whiskey, and it's like I want everybody to get fucked up, at the,
Yeah.
and it's like and then I fell asleep like fast forwarding like a VHS tape or something, like, which sounds like a metaphor, but I was like, oh man, that movie called The Game with whatever his name is in it, and
Michael Douglas.
yeah,
and
Michael
Sean Penn.
Douglas. I'm like that. I think there's a really good part where he falls off a roof into like a big parachute thing, and I'm like, I want to see that. And then, and I basically had alcohol poisoning because I threw up a bunch the next day. But and I feel
Yeah,
I feel like moments like that are worse. I asked somebody, and they were like, yeah, I think moments like that are worse than like drinking like moderately 3 or 4 times a week. But if you don't drink for like weeks and then you have one of those nights, it just puts this big spike in whatever.
yeah. Yeah, I hadn't had any alcohol in a couple of months, and then and it was like Tecate. It wasn't like it was just fizzy enough, and I was chain smoking and getting really excited and adrenaline. And the next day I woke up on their couch, and like that thing where like you slowly have the awareness of like, oh, I'm still in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is that like I'm, a couple of different times like people had come in and like, oh, this is their friend that is asleep. like whereas you're like the exhibit. And so I woke up like pretty early in the morning, and I didn't want to have that like morning after like
Yeah.
I didn't want to have that conversation where it's like, well, when are you gonna leave?
Right.
Like, how do I get you out of here? But also like where the friend's concerned about you, but also it's, like, okay, like what are we gonna do? We're all gonna go get huevos rancheros, and like, no, oh, because I like hammered on the button too many times. Like it's the fun. It's not the fun. It's so I actually got out of there before anybody else that I knew woke up, and I just like went onto the back porch, like smoked half of a cigarette, and then I decided. Well, I looked at my bank balance, and my Google One cloud storage had like come out of like a couple of different things had electronically just come out in the night, and so I didn't have enough money to take an Uber back home.
Oh, okay.
So I walked like 25 miles
Holy shit.
or something.
Yeah.
I walked from Austin like back out to Dripping Springs.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I took a bus like as far west as the buses go, but there's no suburban infrastructure like that here. So I just walked for I think close to 5 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, I stopped at like a couple of gas stations, and I stopped at a truck stop, and I got like coffee and like a breakfast taco, like a brisket.
That's like
egg.
it's a very sobering story. I mean, that part of the walk back, I'm like, holy shit.
Well, I could have at any point I could have called my dad or texted him and said, "Hey, I'm in Oak Hill and there's no way that I can get back." But he had already so grudgingly like even brought me into town that time that I just was like, okay, so either I walk it off and get like some exercise, and it's actually was kind of a nice day for a walk,
That's good.
I sit in a car with my dad for 23 minutes and have to just be like disappointment on top of disappointment on top of like what were you, just kind of where I was like, oh, I think that between the choice of like walking for like 4 hours and 45 minutes or like sitting in a car with my dad on his day off
Yeah.
for like 20 minutes, I'm gonna walk by the side of the highway. um
Huh.
and I have I took like a whole bunch of like artsy pictures to like try and justify my voyage. And I mean, my friend who had been there that night, he was, of course, like people are checking up on you and they're like, dude, you just disappeared. Like, did you make it? Are you making it home okay? Are you fine? Like,
You're like,
one
I
friend,
was, there's like, all I have is shame today. This is a big, it's like my walk of
yeah,
shame.
yeah, yeah. It was my hike of shame. Um, and
Wow.
I really, on a certain level, like it was an enjoyable walk, but on another level it was like a penitence, or a penance, like
Yeah.
doing something to like punish myself for like having gone so far over the line. And like, whew,
Well, then you're leaning into your own constitution of you're, able to walk that long.
yeah.
Um, you have any last words? Last words for the podcast?
Wow. I mean, that was, yeah, I'm glad that I told that. In my mind it was going to be this like quick version of it, and then it just ended up
Did you share that on the other any of the other podcasts?
no. Well, one of them it was too bad. I hinted at it. My friend did a podcast. He does like a Monday through Friday show um in the morning, and it was his day 1000 of sobriety,
Oh,
and he had me on, I think partly because I'm also sober.
yeah.
and
You're like a
and
newsflash.
so yeah, it was this anticlimactic thing at the end where I was like, dude, that's so cool, like I had so many days, like that's a really good time, like, and it's really cool to see what you've been able to accomplish with it. And he was like, yeah, man, how long have you been sober?
You're like 2 days or like
I was
a
like,
week.
a week and a half. Anyway, what else is in the, like literally what else is in the news? Because I'm like supposed to be the news person on that show. So it was like, okay, well, let's talk about uh, some
Right.
some some national news now that we've had the cringe moment.
Well,
And then the other,
yeah. Huh?
oh, the other show that I did was just like a quick one with my new Austin friend, where it was talking about different stuff. But yeah, it was talking about Michael Jackson and Louis C.K. and the Growlers, and like what's the gradient of. But yeah, no, it didn't get into my own self-destructive. Uh,
Self-reflection. Uh,
like,
anyways,
no, like,
that
throw me a shovel down here. I gotta dig deeper. There's more. I swear I can get lower than this.
yeah. Um, well, thanks for coming on, and my first Zoom guest, and you know, it is what it is. I'm glad. I'm just putting in. I guess I already said that. I'm putting in the reps, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna play the outro music, and then we can talk a little more or whatever, and then
I'm just glad that I have like the harshest lighting for the video aspect of it. Like there's six fluorescent lights.
yeah, you're. It's not so like you're a little bit. I'm a little shiny even. I don't know. But yeah. I mean, your internet's also a little bit choppy, but it's you know, you use, 5-star words, and I don't know. You're a good storyteller, so it's like it really it equals out. Plus, if people are like, who is Brodie Kelly, they know at least who Brodie Kelly looks like,
It says digital Robbie, couch tangent, and then grandiosity. Those are my notes for this.
I like the was that a fence or is that a railroad on there?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like the wrong side of the tracks,
Okay.
and like different kinds of barriers. Thank you.
Yeah, let me cue the outro.
And if you watch this, how dare you?